From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. Brain imaging was once thought to be too costly and difficult for widespread use in the developing world. But the technology soon may be available in poor countries. Brain imaging creates pictures of brain activity. It uses infrared light, similar to the light produced by a television remote control. Brain imaging can identify the first signs of learning and development delays in newborns and young children. Experts know that malnutrition or a lack of healthful food can be linked to such problems. The technology has a long name, functional near-infrared spectroscopy, or FNIRS. It uses special light to provide images of the brain. Experts say FNIRS is safer than other imaging methods, and FNIRS is easy to transport. The equipment can be loaded into a vehicle and driven from village to village. Claire Elwell is a professor of medical physics at University College London. She helped develop the technology. She says the device measures oxygen in the blood to learn how babies' brains are developing. She says it can show how much information the brain is processing and where. Ms. Elwell led an FNIRS study in rural Gambia involving babies between 4 and 8 months old. They were examined 3 times over 15 months. Researchers noted the babies' reactions to different images and sounds. Then, the results were compared to those of British children. Ms. Elwell says the research provided more data on the links between malnutrition and brain development. She says the goal is to identify babies who need better diets to avoid harm to brain development. For VOA Learning English, I'm Laurel Bowman.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. Workers at the damaged Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant in Japan will soon begin another cleanup effort. More than 1,500 nuclear fuel rods are to be removed from a damaged storage pool 30 meters above ground inside the Reactor 4 building. TEPCO, the Tokyo Electric Power Company, owns the nuclear power station. Critics say TEPCO should not be trusted to carry out the operation. However, TEPCO General Manager Masayuki Ono says the operation has been carefully planned. TEPCO had to rebuild the Reactor 4 building after a hydrogen explosion destroyed it. TEPCO workers will first remove pieces of wreckage left by the explosion. Then workers will remove the fuel rods one by one. They will use a crane suspended above the building. The fuel rods must not touch each other or break. Nuclear experts warn that any accidents could cause an explosion many times worse than the one in March 2011. Mitsue Murata is Japan's former ambassador to Switzerland and an anti-nuclear activist. He notes that problems over the past 30 months, including radioactive water leaks, have raised questions about TEPCO's efforts. He says if the worst happens and workers have to withdraw, then it could be considered what he calls the beginning of the ultimate catastrophe of the world. Japan's Agency for Natural Resources and Energy says TEPCO alone is responsible for safety. But to support TEPCO, the agency has sought advice from specialists around the world. Nuclear inspectors have approved TEPCO's plan to remove the fuel from Reactor 4. The process is expected to begin in November and be finished in 18 months. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. The war in the Gaza Strip is being fought as much on the internet as it is on the ground. Some people say the increased use of social media is changing the way people look at the conflict. Palestinian activists recently put a video on the YouTube website. The video shows rescue workers trying to help a Palestinian boy look for his family. Suddenly, the boy is seen lying on the ground. The video claims he was shot by Israeli gunmen. A second bullet appears to kill him. The video was shared on social media. Palestinians and Israelis have fought before, but now Palestinians are telling their war stories directly to the world through social media. Lisa Goldman is with the New America Foundation, a nonprofit group. She says Israelis have used Twitter for a long time. She says Palestinians on Twitter is a much more recent event. Yusuf Munayer heads the Jerusalem Fund, a pro-Palestinian group. He says that earlier news reports about the Middle East were generally pro-Israel. But he says active social media work by Palestinians is changing how traditional media report the news. The Israeli government understands the power of this new technology. Jed Shine is the social media director at Israel's embassy in Washington. He warns against thinking that social media truly show how the public feels about issues. There is little scientific evidence to prove how effective social media is in reporting about the conflict between Israel and Gaza. Lisa Goldman says it is important to have news media professionals report from conflict areas. For VOA Learning English, I'm Alex Villarreal. From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. The internet is one of the most popular forms of technology, but can using the internet have the same effect as taking a drug? The answer seems to be yes in at least one country. China says many teenagers have grown dependent on the internet.
China calls them internet addicts. In fact, China says that internet addiction is the biggest threat to its teenagers. Some critics even call the internet electronic heroin. In 2008, China became one of the first countries to declare internet addiction an official medical condition. Experts released a report that defined the condition or disorder. It said people with internet addiction disorder spend more than 6 hours online doing something other than work or study. Based on the definition, China has over 20 million internet addicts. The condition has led to the creation of over 250 camps within China. They are designed to treat young addicts. The camps treat the country's young addicts for their dependence on the internet and video gaming. Teenagers can spend 3 to 4 months at a camp. Once there, the patients are required to do demanding physical exercises and take medication. Some patients reportedly are placed in rooms by themselves for up to 10 days. Shash Shlam and Hilla Medalia are filmmakers from Israel. They released a documentary called Web Junkie. It tells about the internet addiction camps. Their film was produced at the Daxing Treatment Center in Beijing. China is not the only country dealing with internet addiction. South Korea has opened over 100 treatment centers for teenagers. For VOA Learning English, I'm Alex Villarreal.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. On May 20th, a tornado brought death and destruction to the American community of Moore, Oklahoma. The tornado had wind speeds of up to 400 kilometers an hour. 24 people died when the storm cut through the city. People had only 15 minutes to react to warnings. Some fled Moore or took refuge in the most secure area of their home. The lucky ones took cover in underground shelters or steel and concrete structures called safe rooms. Leslie Chapman Henderson is head of a nonprofit group called the Federal Alliance for Safe Homes. She is a big supporter of tornado-safe rooms. She says they can help reduce the number of tornado deaths. A safe room is built to resist high winds and flying wreckage. Sky Strohall survived the tornado in Moore. He watched as it moved in his direction. He and a friend ran to a neighbor's underground shelter only minutes before the storm struck. Better methods for predicting storms give people like Sky Strohall and his friend more time. But they need someplace safe to go. Structures can be built to resist strong winds, but not all structures may be able to resist a tornado as strong as the one that hit Moore. It was rated F5, the highest possible rating. Moore lies in an area of the United States called Tornado Alley. Powerful storm systems are common. The tornado in May was the fourth to strike the city in 14 years. Moore's mayor is pushing for laws requiring safe rooms in all new buildings. Similar proposals followed other tornado strikes, but no laws were passed. For VOA Learning English, I'm Laurel Bowman.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. The United States Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI, has taken legal action in the American court system against the technology company Apple. The case involves an Apple iPhone 5C. The smartphone belongs to killer Syed Farook. Farook and his wife murdered 14 people in San Bernardino, California on December 2nd. They were killed in a gun battle with police later the same day. Investigators found an iPhone Farook used. Farook was employed by the San Bernardino County Department of Public Health. They own Farook's iPhone 5C. The Public Health Department gave the FBI permission to collect information from the phone for their investigation. But the phone is locked with a secret password. The phone has a built-in tool that will remove all its information if the password is not correct after trying 10 times. Last month, a judge in Riverside, California, ordered Apple to create software to unlock the phone. The judge's order was supported by the FBI. Apple CEO Tim Cook claims the order violates Apple consumers' privacy rights and sets a bad example. He says it could take away the freedoms and liberty that government is meant to protect. Cook considers the software too dangerous to create. Once created, he argues, criminals could use the software to unlock iPhones and steal private information. This case may be argued for many months and years to come. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. A new report says businesses around the world are not keeping up with new and tricky methods of computer crime. The international technology company Cisco Systems released the report. It said businesses are trying to prevent computer system security breaks using old technology and policies. The report describes big mistakes businesses have made in trying to stop computer attacks. Cisco examined 115,000 devices. It says almost all of them had security weaknesses in their software. Jason Brevnick is a top engineer at Cisco Systems. He told VOA that computer criminals will attack systems owned by a company or an individual. He said criminals will work together to target a computer system and steal information. Brevnick said companies are starting to guard their computer systems continuously. This helps them identify and quickly answer attacks. He said many companies do not discover attacks until 100 days or more after they happen. However, Brevnick said new programs are able to identify attacks within hours. Tara Sinclair is with the jobs listing website Indeed.com. She says computer attacks have caused a large increase in the need for computer security experts. The company Symantec is the largest seller of security software in the world. It says the number of people needed for computer security jobs will grow to 1.5 million by 2019. Cisco's Jason Brevnick told VOA that universities are training students for the growing computer security market. For VOA Learning English, I'm Ann Ball.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. Prime Minister Hun Sen of the Cambodian People's Party joined the online social media site Facebook 3 months ago. Recently, he announced he had 3 million likes on his Facebook page. Now, Cambodia's ruling party spokesman has dismissed a report that the Prime Minister unfairly increased his number of Facebook likes. Hun Sen appears to have overtaken opposition leader Sam Raisy's 2.2 million likes. Raisy, head of the Cambodian National Rescue Party, has been on Facebook for at least 5 years. A report released by the Phnom Penh Post newspaper said that only about 20% of Hun Sen's likes were Cambodia-based users. Many of the likes came from people outside the country. The report raised the question that the Prime Minister might have been buying his support on the site. Nghe is head of the Internet Technology Department at an online rights advocacy group. He explains that Facebook users can pay money to advertise their Facebook page, a method known as boosting. Chuk Sopiap is executive director of the Cambodian Center for Human Rights. She says that a politician's popularity should not be judged by social media activity, but by their work as public officials. Hun Sen has been in power for more than 30 years. Political observers say Hun Sen is hoping that he can use Facebook to gain popularity. Important local and national elections will be held in Cambodia in 2017 and 2018. For VOA Learning English, I'm Jonathan Evans.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. Mia Lei Tai is a scientist at the University of California, Irvine. She recently discovered a process that could result in batteries lasting forever. Tai spoke with VOA Learning English about her discovery. She said she was not happy with the lithium-ion batteries in her wireless devices. She said that over time, they lose their ability to fully charge. She said this is because the batteries use nanowires. The small wires are extremely thin. A human hair is 1,000 times thicker than a nanowire, for example. As a result, nanowires break easily, but they are also effective carriers of electricity. Tai had a theory. Nanowires might last longer if covered. She and her team at Irvine experimented with many coverings. They found success with PMMA, a hard, clear plastic material. The nanowires covered with PMMA cycled through charges 28 times more than uncovered nanowires. The PMMA covered wires showed no evidence of damage after 200,000 cycles. The results suggest that batteries with covered nanowires might last forever. For VOA Learning English, this is the last technology report for Learning English TV. But we are not going away. We will continue to bring you videos to help you learn American English. Go to learningenglish.voanews.com to find new materials and to look for past Learning English TV reports. I'm Carolyn Presutti. Thank you for watching and learning with VOA Learning English. From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. The United States Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI, has ended its legal action against Apple. The FBI wanted Apple's help to get information from a locked iPhone. The iPhone had been used by a shooter in an attack in San Bernardino, California, last December. A husband and wife killed 14 people in the attack. Police later killed the couple during a gunfight. The FBI sought legal action to force Apple to create new software. The software would permit investigators to use a limitless number of passwords to enter the iPhone's database. The government believed the information from the phone would help in its investigation of the San Bernardino attack. In February, a judge ordered Apple to help the FBI, but the agency announced in late March that it has been able to unlock and collect information from the phone without Apple's help. It asked the judge to cancel her order, and she did. The FBI would not say how investigators succeeded in unlocking the iPhone and collecting its stored information. Lawyers for Apple say the company wants to know how the device was unlocked. But the FBI's withdrawal of the legal action could hurt Apple's ability to get answers from federal investigators. The FBI's success in unlocking the phone could hurt Apple's image. The public is now more likely to question the strength of security on Apple devices. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. Technology company Microsoft is taking legal action against the United States government. The company opposes the Electronics Communications Privacy Act, or ECPA, of 1986. The law permits agencies to demand to read emails or online files without their owner's knowledge. In most cases, investigators must request permission from a judge to do so. Reuters news agency reports that Microsoft believes the demand violates the Fourth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. That amendment bans unreasonable searches and seizures by the government. Reuters says Microsoft also argues that the law violates the company's First Amendment right to free speech. Microsoft says the ECPA was established before the development of distant computer data storage centers, known as the cloud. The company is a major operator of cloud storage for computers. It says it received more than 5,600 federal demands to access files between September 2014 and March 2015. It says more than half of the requests did not permit the company to tell the file's owners of the demand. Microsoft lawyer Brad Smith says that people should not lose their rights just because they are storing information in the cloud. The Justice Department says it is studying the lawsuit. Daniel Rosenthal formerly served as a Justice Department lawyer. He told the Associated Press that forcing the government to report to owners of files that their information is being accessed could hurt law enforcement efforts. For VOA Learning English, I'm Ann Ball.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. One of the most important resources the United States has to offer may be its highly educated immigrants. a new study by the Information Technology and Innovation Foundation, or ITIF, finds 35% of those who invent products or discover new ideas in the US were born in other countries. The group looked at inventors who have won national awards. They also looked at people who applied for international legal protection or patents for their ideas in information technology or science. And the group spoke with inventors who work for large technology companies. The ITIF study shows that most inventors have a doctorate or PhD in science, technology, engineering, or mathematics. Adams Nager is an economic expert at the foundation. He says many immigrant inventors come to the United States for research and business possibilities that might not be available in their home countries. He says the study shows the value of bringing the smartest engineers from around the world to the US. They bring benefits to the economy with their new ideas and new ways of thinking about things, Nager says. The other 2/3 of American innovators are mostly white men. They are not young. The study found their average age is 47. Almost all of them have at least one advanced educational degree, like a master's or a PhD. The research also finds that women make up only 12% of inventors in the United States. For VOA Learning English, I'm Lucia Malanig.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. New technologies may change the way people watch movies in a theater. Instead of watching a film on the screen, audiences could enter the scene and watch the action on all sides. This is the promise of virtual reality, or VR, and 360-degree video. The idea is to make you feel like you are in the movie. Video sharing websites like YouTube and Vimeo already offer VR films. To watch, people wear high-priced headsets that cover their eyes and ears. There are other lower-cost ways to see VR films. Many people use their smartphones, placed in a special cardboard box. Then they hold it up to their eyes to watch. VR headsets are also being used for travel video. Watchers feel as if they are on the ground in another city without ever leaving home. A company called YouVisit has films that advertise trips. It can also help people who cannot physically travel but want to experience other places. At the recent South by Southwest Media and Technology Conference in Austin, Texas, companies showed other new movie technologies. Japanese NHK Media demonstrated their 8 4K resolution 3D or three-dimensional film. The sound system for the film used 24 speakers. As music played around the people watching, sharply detailed images appeared to jump out of the screen. A company spokesman said the video and sound system cost $500,000. Theater owners will have to decide if they want to invest in these new technologies. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. The area in Northern California, between San Francisco and San Jose, is known as Silicon Valley. Some of the world's most famous technology companies are based there. Apple and Facebook are two big ones. Along with these big established companies, there are many small companies trying to get started. These businesses are called startups. Some of the people behind startups are immigrants from countries like Sri Lanka and China. Ji Chuang and James Fong are Chinese Americans. They met at Cornell University in the state of New York. Together, they founded a startup company called Listia. Listia is an online marketplace where people can exchange used items for credit. Then they can use the credit to buy other items like collectible coins, video games, or cell phones. Listia has been in business since 2009 and has 9 million users. Poonsri Abewakrema is the founder of Cloud of Goods. He is from Sri Lanka. Cloud of Goods is an online business that connects local residents who have things to rent with tourists who need those things. He says his business is based on the fact that people often buy goods that they do not use all the time. When those goods are not being used, they can be rented to someone else. Neil Gorenflo is a business analyst for Shareable. It tracks what is called the sharing economy. He says starting online businesses can be difficult. It can take several years to learn how to be successful, he says. For VOA Learning English, I'm Dan Friedel.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. Santander is a port city on the northern coast of Spain on the Atlantic Ocean. It is also the home of a project started 7 years ago by the University of Cantabria. The project is to bring smart technology to Santander. A city is called smart when it uses technology to make life better for its citizens and visitors. Santander uses 20,000 sensors, or technology that measures motion and other things. The sensors are put on buildings, street posts, buses, and underground. They can point drivers to the nearest parking space. As one car drives away, a sensor says that a parking space is now free. The sensor sends a message to street signs and satellites. Using a smartphone app, drivers can find empty parking spaces more easily. Sensors also help in other ways. Trash is collected only when the containers are full. Signs at bus stops show exactly when the next bus will arrive. Public grass is watered only when soil gets dry. Luis Munoz is a researcher at the University of Cantabria. He meets with local citizens to talk about making their city even smarter. For example, the university helped a woman create an app that shows the easiest path for walking with a baby stroller. Another app shows the amount of home water usage. It is not all easy. It is difficult to let all citizens know about the technology and teach them how to use it. The Santander project is getting the attention of large cities looking for smart ways to fix city problems. For VOA Learning English, I'm Jonathan Evans. From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. The social media company Twitter has shut down more than 125,000 accounts in the past 8 months. Most of the accounts reportedly were connected to extremist groups that aid terrorism. Twitter posted a blog in which the company said it condemns the use of Twitter to support terrorism. It also said that Twitter rules clearly state that any violent threat is not permitted on the service. Twitter has said it only closes accounts when they are reported by other users. But it said it had increased the size of teams that receive and act on the reports. Twitter said its reaction time to reports is much faster now than it once was. The company said it has already seen results because of these actions. Many social media companies are taking stronger steps against extremist groups that use their websites. Facebook is leading the way. Legislators have proposed forcing companies to report terrorist activity on their sites to law enforcement. Social media companies are concerned about governmental interference in the industry. Twitter said that it has cooperated with law enforcement at the right times. It said that it seeks balance in enforcing its rules and supporting law enforcement with the desire of users to share their views. Seamus Hughes is Deputy Director of George Washington University's Program on Extremism. He said that many extremists have moved to smaller, less watched social media services in recent months. For VOA Learning English. I'm Jonathan Evans.